Greetings and welcome back to the Lilly Lectures, the channel where we delve into the fascinating world of Horary Astrology and its timeless wisdom. I am your guide, William Lilly, and today we're going to explore a rather intriguing aspect of astrology, finding lost objects or even lost animals. Now, this is indeed a complex subject, and for a more in-depth understanding, I recommend checking out my book, Christian Astrology. However, in this episode, we'll start by uncovering the astrological clues that can lead us to the lost item. To begin, let's look at the role of the moon, which serves as the primary signifier of the lost object. When you observe the moon applying to the lord of the ascendant, or the lord of the 12th house from the ascendant, or even to the lord of the house representing the moon, the chances of finding the lost item increase, especially if it involves strayed cattle. However, if the moon doesn't apply to any of these positions and doesn't remain in the ascendant or the second house, the lost or missing object may not be found. If the lord of the house representing the moon is in the third house or forms a sextile aspect with the ascendant, there's still hope of recovering the item during that aspect with the ascendant degree. Furthermore, if the lord of the house representing the moon separates from the lords of the 12th, 8th, or 6th houses and applies to the degree of the house of substance in any aspect, there's a chance of finding the lost item. Likewise, if the lord of the house representing the moon beholds the moon itself, it indicates a possibility of finding the lost object. But remember, unfavorable configurations could lead to the opposite outcome. If the moon is fortunate and aspected by any of the fortunes, it's a sign that the lost item is in the hands of a trustworthy person who wishes to return it to its rightful owner. This likelihood increases if the fortunate planet applies to the ascendant or beholds it, or if the moon beholds the ascendant. Let's turn our attention to the location of the lost item. The signifier of the location is determined by the position of the moon and its associated astrological factors. If the sign is in the east, the lost item is likely to be in the eastern part, and the same applies to the west, north, and south. The moon's position in the chart can also provide clues. If it's in the ascendant, it indicates the east direction, and so forth. Additionally, the signs in which the lord of the house representing the moon is placed can suggest the type of location where the lost thing may be found. Humane signs, Gemini, Virgo, Libra, and Aquarius, for instance, indicates places where people usually reside, while signs associated with small animals, such as Aries and Capricorn, suggest locations where these creatures are commonly found. The moon's position in fire signs may indicate a place with fire, while water signs may point to locations with water. Now let's consider how the item or animal was lost. This is determined by the planet from whom the lord of the ascendant last separated. If the separation was from Saturn, the loss may be attributed to the owner's forgetfulness or misplacement, especially if Saturn is retrograde. Separation from Jupiter or being in the house of Jupiter might suggest fasting, adherence to laws, or the involvement of a trusted person. On the other hand, if the separation is from Mars or in the house of Mars, it could be due to anger, quarrels, or hidden passions. The sun's involvement might indicate the presence of a king or involvement in hunting or pastime activities. Venus may suggest loss due to drinking, gambling, or flirtatious activities, while Mercury's involvement could be related to writing, sending messages, or going on a mission. If the moon is involved, it could indicate excessive use or exposure of the lost item or its loss by a messenger, widow, or servant. Now we come to the critical question of whether the animal is still alive. To determine this, observe the moon and its aspects. If you find the moon in application to the lord of the 8th house from it, this suggests that the animal is deceased. If there's no such application, look at the lord of the moon and see if it is applying to the lord of the 8th house from the moon, which also suggests that the animal may be dead or will pass away soon. In the absence of these applications, interpret the outcome based on the Lord of the Eighth House's significations. Let's explore whether the thing missing was stolen or if it fled of its own accord. If it was stolen, look for the significator of the thief. If it's in the ascendant or bestows its influence on the moon, it's an indicator that the item was stolen. Similarly, if the Lord of the ascendant is in aspect with the significator of the thief, or if the moon is in aspect with them, it also suggests theft. If these configurations are absent, and there are no malefic influences from Saturn or Mars in the ascendant or second house, or if the Lord of the house of the moon or her term is afflicted, it indicates that the item was simply lost, not stolen. If it was not stolen, there are two possibilities. It either fled of its own accord or was driven away by someone else. If it fled of its own accord, you'll find the Lord of the House of the Moon separating from any planet. If it didn't separate, but some other planet separated from it, it suggests that the thing was driven away. And if neither of these scenarios applies, then the item is still nearby and not stolen. For animals, strayed, fugitives, or anything else that is lost, the critical question is whether it will be found. The moon, as the significator, plays a central role here. If the moon is applying to the Lord of the Ascendant, second house, or her dispositor, there's hope to find the lost thing. If the moon is in the Ascendant or her dispositor is in a trine or sextile aspect, there's even more hope. But if the dispositor of the moon is separating from the lords of the 6th, 8th, or 12th houses and applying to the Lord of the Ascendant or the degree of the second house, then the prospects of finding the lost item are good. However, if the moon is in an unfortunate position with the lords of the 6th, 8th, or 12th houses, it might be in the hands of an ill person who won't return it. If the moon is in a favorable aspect with Jupiter or Venus, the item is likely in the possession of an honest person who will return it, but it may still require some effort. So where might it be found? The moon's position plays a crucial role once again. If the moon is in the 10th house, it's likely in the south. In the 7th house, it's in the west. In the 4th house, it's in the north. And in the ascendant, it's in the east. The dispositor of the moon being in a human sign indicates a place where people usually gather. Signs like Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces may suggest locations near water or wells. Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius might point to places associated with fire, and the position in mutable signs may indicate a place that has recently been disturbed. If the situation involves an animal that has strayed, look to see if the moon is within 30 degrees of the Lord of the Ascendant. The lost thing is likely with the owner or near them. If the moon is more than 30 degrees from the Lord of the Ascendant, it's far off from the owner. If the dispositor of the moon is separating from another planet, the thing is likely strayed. Conversely, if another planet is separating from the dispositor of the moon, it might have been stolen. If the moon or her dispositor is applying to the Lord of the 8th house or the 8th house from the moon, it suggests that the thing is dead or will soon die. And finally, if the Lord of the 2nd house is in the 10th or 9th house, it's likely in the possession of the querent or a familiar friend. The sun, being in the ascendant, except in Libra or Aquarius, suggests that it is found. However, if the Lord of the 2nd house is in the 11th or 12th house, it's probably far away. And there you have it, my friends, the intricate and detailed world of finding lost objects and animals through the lens of astrology. Remember, the celestial bodies provide us with clues and insights that can help us in our daily lives. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the Lilly Lectures, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our future explorations into the vast realm of astrology. Until next time, may the stars be in your favor. I am William Lilly, and this is Christian Astrology.